Welcome back. Today we're going to make a patty melt. This is one of my favorite things to make. I like it more than a traditional burger. Here are all the ingredients. Let's get into it right now. Okay, patty melts. I always like to go over the ingredients. It helps me get set up, but more importantly, it helps you have like a successful cooking experience. Do not be deterred by what looks like a decent amount of ingredients. All of this right here, mayo, ketchup, mustard, cider vinegar, cayenne pepper, and garlic powder are for a sauce. And I'll tell you the exact amounts when we whip it up in a second. And the remaining ingredients aren't too much. I have 80-20 ground chuck. If you want to go 90-10, that's totally fine too. It's still going to be plenty flavorful. And all we're going to do to season this up is just use Worcestershire sauce, or Worcester sauce, I should say, 1 tablespoon, and then we have a half a teaspoon of Diamond Crystal Kosher salt and a 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper. All that is for the beef. We're gonna put Swiss cheese on it. If you have thicker slice, you just need 1 per side. These are super thin, so I'll probably do a couple per side. And then we're gonna caramelize onions. So onions take the longest, so we'll do them first. I just have 2 medium white onions here, but red or yellow are totally fine too. A little bit of water will help accelerate that process. We got some butter. This butter is gonna go on our bread when we grill up our patty melt at the end. And speaking of bread, I have an uncut loaf of rye bread, and then I have a cut loaf of rye bread. Now the cut ones, the pre-cut ones are always a little thinner. If you look at the pictures on the recipe on the website, I used that bread and it worked perfectly. But if you do get a loaf like this, and this one was from Whole Foods, you can cut the slices thicker and your patty melt might hold up a little bit better. I think that pretty much covered everything. Let's get into caramelizing the onions right away. Really quickly on the sauce, we have 5 tablespoons of mayonnaise, 2 tablespoons ketchup, 1 tablespoon Dijon mustard. Basically this sauce, we're trying to get like the maximum amount of tang out of it. 1 teaspoon cider vinegar, and then half a teaspoon granulated garlic and a little bit of cayenne. That's a little bit more than a pinch. That's what I like. Some guy the other day on one of the videos said, he's like, oh, you're using granulated garlic? What, you can't afford garlic powder? Just so you know, granulated garlic is about half as garlicky as garlic powder. So like they're not 1 for 1, but a lot of times granulated garlic for certain things, it distributes better. That's kind of the thing. I could clearly get garlic powder if I want, but they're both gonna work fine. All I do here with this sauce, just taste it, make sure that it's really good. All right, I'm just gonna set this off to the side. This is gonna be for when we assemble. Okay, we got these 2 onions here. Let's just chop them root to stem. Okay, just like that, just like that. It's an onion, okay? You don't need to like save like the exact outer layer, because the right outer layer underneath the skin is not gonna be something you really wanna eat. Let's just cut it root to stem. Okay, just like this. So this amount of onions, it's gonna be perfect for 4 sandwiches. Again, I'm making everything else, the sauce, the same amount of onions. I'm just gonna make 2 sandwiches to assemble instead of 4. Okay, so it's got a 14-inch pan here, non-stick, but you can also use a stainless. It doesn't really matter. Just do a couple tablespoons of olive oil, pinch of salt, and a couple ounces of water here. Just get everything coated with the oil, and then turn the heat up to like high, all right? Just get it high. 14-inch lid. If you don't have a 14-inch lid, use foil. If you don't have a big non-stick like this, use your like enameled Dutch oven. That will work great for it too. The wider your pan is, the more surface area, the quicker you're gonna be able to caramelize them. So if you have like a really tight fitting lid, most of the water, everything is gonna stay right in here, but this is not, so still plenty in there. I want you to check it. It's hard, sometimes it's hard to see in there. Make sure you're checking it, and then if it starts like burning or there's not any water, just put a little bit more back in there. This is just gonna speed up this process a lot. I find that by like kind of boiling them to the point for about 10 minutes, you knock off about 20 minutes on your total caramelizing time. Okay, while my onions are going, and make sure you're watching them, we'll just make the patties. Okay, that's 1.5 pounds of ground chuck. Remember, I'm only making 2 right now, okay? Spread that meat out a little bit. 1 tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce, and then a half teaspoon Diamond Crystal Kosher salt, and a 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper. If you would take a tablespoon of table salt, it would be way saltier. That would be not good. So make sure you're paying attention to what you're using when you're cooking. You know, I'm trying to specify in all my recipes now the actual salt I'm using. Now, because I have like over 500 recipes on my website, I have to go back and do a lot of corrections. And I'm gonna break out some bro gloves here, which I should have did initially before I started touching the meat. Okay, I wanna distribute the salt and the pepper pretty well. Yep, and see, I'm about to burn there, so more water. I actually did weigh it out. I have exactly 12 ounces here. So now I can eyeball it good enough. And I turned my heat down on the pan so they don't burn. So what I want to do here is I want to form this patty roughly into the size of our bread. Okay, you can just stick it on here initially. So depending on what size your bread is, that's what I would just make it. And initially when I did this recipe, I had 1 1/4 pounds of meat for 4 patties and it just wasn't enough. So I think 1 1/2 is good, but you actually might want to go even more than that. Something like that. And our onions are getting a little bit of color. They started to burn a touch when I was not paying attention, but they're all right. They'll be fine. Now what I want to do here is, you can see there's still some water in the pan. Just let it evaporate, and you're gonna have to turn your heat down to about a 4 out of 10. If you're higher than that, you gotta like sit over this nonstop, and as they caramelize, they're gonna burn quicker. So all you have to do in that situation is add a touch of water, sprinkle it down, or just remove your pan from the heat and then sprinkle the water. That's it. Give it about 20 more minutes here. Maybe, you know, if you wanna go nuts, you wanna do full caramelization, it's gonna take you another 55, 60 minutes. But I think another 20 will be pretty good. Okay, so this has been about 20 minutes of total cooking time, maybe 18. This is why I'm telling you to do what I did, boiling it aggressively first. You have to be careful though, because you can burn it, which like I almost did, but we're good, all right? But this is, like the way they look right now, like this isn't caramelized onions. That's why anytime you see a recipe that says like caramelized onions in 5 minutes, it's not true. I mean, they're essentially lying to you. In order to like really do it properly, it takes a long time. So we're gonna we're gonna be in the middle here. I'm probably gonna go another 10 minutes. I don't wanna be here forever, and the taste tester is itching in the other room to get his patty melt. Okay, so total time here has been about 27 minutes. Now look, this is pretty good for that amount of time. I wanna show you. Okay, like this. That is nowhere near a full caramelization. If you want to see a full caramelization, watch my French onion soup video. Watch my French onion meatball video. Those I probably did it for an hour, maybe more. You know what? This is pretty good right here. So I'm gonna take these out of the pan, so I'm gonna use the same pan, so I don't have to use multiple pans. I'm gonna keep my pan about medium heat here. I just wiped it down, but you can wipe it down a little bit more. You're gonna be putting so much more fat back in here with 80-20 beef. You could put the burgers while you were waiting. You just keep them in the fridge. You could even put them in the freezer to set up a little bit. Right about there. Maybe I'm pushing up a little bit past medium here. And just a couple minutes per side. Now, look, it's ground beef. You really should be cooking this mostly through. Like if you want to cook it medium or medium rare or some be ridiculous like you see on Instagram, dripping wet chopped meat, go ahead. But you shouldn't do that. Now, it's probably been a couple minutes, I would say 2 minutes. I'm just gonna flip over without messing it up. Ooh, those look really nice. This is a good pan. Look at that, Tara, nice color on my non-stick pan. Don't wanna mess up the shirt. I only have 4 more of them in the exact same color. I do. That's why you always see me in the same shirt. Again, you could use a meat thermometer, you can start touching it. Just cook it to your liking. So listen, it's been maybe 5 minutes total. I'm gonna pull these out. Just get them on a plate. Okay, and then you can tent that with foil because we still need to toast our bread and stuff like that. And we want to get all this grease out of here. We don't need it, okay? Don't tell me fat is flavor. It's ridiculous. This is an ultra, super fattening dish already. Clean this pan completely or use another pan.
You hate the fattest flavor, people.
They're ridiculous, these people. I'm like, why don't you just eat a stick of butter then? We're gonna assemble now the most delicious patty melt. Butter and 4 slices of rye bread here. So here's my butter. This is soft butter. So it's going to allow me to spread it very easily on one side of the bread. Just do a thin layer of butter on each piece of bread. And I know I took the fat, the beef fat out of the pan, and I'm using butter fat now, but it's better. It's what I want for my sandwich. I don't want, you know, I don't want the bread to be like completely black or anything. And you can even put a little mayo on the bottom of this. That makes it really crisp. Okay, so my beef is tented. The onions are over here. I'm gonna keep this heat probably to a little bit less than medium, about a 4 out of 10 here. I don't really wanna burn my bread, but I wanna get it nice and toasty, kind of like we did with the Monte Cristo that time. So we're doing 2 sandwiches at a time here, so put down 2 pieces of bread to start, just like this. If you could be very careful, you could do the sauce on both sides of it, but just a little bit. Sometimes it's easier just to do it on one side. And I like to save extra sauce for dipping, for anybody who likes it. Now let's put 2 pieces of cheese. I'll go like that. Take a peek. You don't want to be burning. We're getting there fairly quickly, so I'm gonna lower the heat, twist to the side like this, put one of my patties, my other patty, onions, cheese again, little sauce, bread.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
That's good.
I was getting a little nervous because it was like, I was doing a lot of assemblage and I was like, oh God, it's gonna be burnt. Whew. If I did that and it messed up, I would have had to do another video. But no, that's why I kept my pan really low there. Okay, now I'm just doing a little press. Just all you gotta remember is just butter on the outside, obviously, sauce on the inside. And now you could just take a look here, and I would just turn this way. And this is what's nice about having this big 14-inch pan. You have enough room to navigate. Yep, and we're getting very close to done. Let's get the taste tester down and see what he thinks, but only one for him. I'm gonna have the other one. All right, James, dig in.
I know exactly what I'm gonna give it. I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10 with the sauce dipped in. I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10 without the sauce. Okay, it's a little hard to explain with a patty melt because it's basically just a burger on rye bread with onions.
I've been making it for the last hour and a half, salivating over taking a bite of it. I think the crust is perfect, but they don't care what I think. They want to know what you think.
James, what do you think would make it a 10? Like, what would you put on it or add to it?
Can I be honest?
Yeah.
I don't think this thing will ever be a 10.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
I think the highest we'll get is a 9 out of 10. It's really good. 9 out of 10 is good. I just don't see this ever being a 10 out of 10.
You're just not into patty melts, is that it?
No, I love burgers, I love caramelized onions, I love rye bread. But all together, it's just a ton of like grease piled up. It's never gonna be a 10 out of 10. If you wanna be fat, eat this.
Yeah, well, this is not a health channel.
Unless you're a teenager like me, who has a fast metabolism.
Well, you built up an appetite.
Until mine slows down, I'm gonna keep eating patty melts.
Well, looks like you're enjoying it at least. Okay.
Good.
8 without the sauce, 9 with the sauce.
No, I'm gonna give it a 9 throughout.
See, this is the thing. All I gotta do is let him keep eating as it goes on, and the rating. Every time I shut off the camera after we film, he's like, "Oh, I should have given that higher." Like it's always the case, right?
9 is good.
No, I know.
You would give it a 10?
You know what it is? I think I got more onions on this side than you did.
Yeah, by
You know?
You always have an excuse.
We'll see if it really gets a 10 on this side. Still 9.
All right.
It's the same thing.
We will see you next time.